Hi everyone. Today I want to talk about one of my favorite topics called the veil of illusion. In Hinduism, they call it Maya. And in most of the religions and spiritual philosophies of the world, they refer to some kind of a veil of illusion. What exactly is this veil that they are talking about? What lies on both sides of the veil? And how do you navigate across both the sides successfully? Are some of the topics that we will cover in this video. So let's dive right in. So, by default, we are born into this three-dimensional world of reality where we relate to existence as matter. But as this veil of illusion starts lifting up, we start experiencing a more multidimensional perspective. Now, how do you relate to yourself when you are in the 3D reality? You may think of all existence as matter, and matter, by the very virtue of its properties, is always separate and distinct from every other material thing. So, when you relate to yourself from a 3D perspective, you may have the illusion that you are separate and distinct from every other being or the universe or the God. You may even think that you are a human being, this body, which is having maybe a temporary spiritual experience sometimes. But when you are rooted more in the multidimensional reality, you realize that you're actually an eternal spirit having a temporary human experience. You'll also realize that existence is not matter, but it's actually energy and or consciousness. And by the very virtue of its basic properties, energy is always related to the energy of everything and everyone else. So your energy is connected to that of every other being on the planet, to that of the universe, and even God. I think one of the best ways to understand it is through how Vedas describe it in Hinduism, where they say Atman is Brahman and Brahman is Atman, which essentially means that our soul is a part of God and God is a part of our very soul. I think one of the most radical examples to truly understand this difficult concept is given by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, where he says that he who sees a dog, a cow, a Brahmin, or a dog eater with the same eyes, with the same vision, is my true devotee, for he knows that these are all just extensions of me. Yeah, even though this example seems pretty extreme, but it clearly shows that even Lord Krishna is able to see all beings, whether animal beings, whether human beings, across different hierarchies of the society. If the Lord is able to see them all as equal and as an extension of himself, then why can't we as human beings do that? The next important question is, what is your relationship with nature, with the cosmos, with Earth, the stars, and the galaxies? So, if you're rooted more in the 3D perspective on this side of the veil, you may relate to Earth as a resource for all of your food, water, shelter, air, a place to dump our trash, a place for us to live on, and you may not really feel your connection to the cosmos, the galaxies, the stars. But if you're rooted more in the multidimensional perspectives, you will realize and remember that Earth is actually our cosmic mother. Whether in Native American cultures, they call it Pachamama, or Greeks described her as goddess Gaia. You'll really remember that she's always been there to nurture us unconditionally with abundant resources for us to thrive and not just survive. So you might feel a deep sense of gratitude, love, and respect for this Mother Earth. You may also feel really connected to all the plant and animal beings on the planet. You'll inherently want to be kind and not cruel to all these beings. As far as the galaxies and cosmos, you'll remember and feel the energetic connection that you share with the stars of this galaxy, with all the planets, with astrology, and you'll be aware about how all those energies impact and influence you. What are some of your goals or purposes if you are in 3D versus the multidimensional perspective? If you're rooted more on the three-dimensional side, your focus might be more on various goals of life, like how do I acquire more skills? How do I get the right job? How do I gain the socio-cultural acceptance and appreciation by achieving more? How do I make more money and accumulate the wealth that I can leave for my kids? Your life might be more determined by this checklist of things to accomplish and goals. However, when you're rooted more in the multidimensional perspective, your life might be more about purpose rather than goals. Rather than trying to acquire more skills, you will always be seeking wisdom. You will be wondering about the laws of the universe, the ultimate truths, and always trying to acquire those. For example, some of the laws of the universe, and maybe I'll get into the details of these laws in another video, but for example, some laws are the law of karma, the law of vibration, and law of attraction, which I'm sure many of you would have heard about. The law of Akashic records and divine memory, where everything, every deed, every word, every action is always stored. The law of free will and law of evolution and expansion of consciousness. Now, you'll generally find yourself pondering about these laws and wanting to understand the ultimate truths and wisdom behind the workings of this universe. You'll fundamentally be focused on how you can learn, evolve, and grow. You might even find yourself wondering about your life purpose. Why were you born? What did you come here on the earth to accomplish? What is your soul's sacred purpose, sacred design? There will be an inherent focus on giving back, not just taking and accumulating, but really wanting to contribute, give back, be of service, create something new. Now, when you're rooted more in the multidimensional perspective and you see everything and everyone as one, you will also be inherently rooted in kindness, compassion, oneness, and unity. When it comes to your kids, rather than thinking about what wealth can you leave them, you might find yourself wondering about how you can teach your kids also some of these fundamental laws of the universe and nature so that they can learn to be responsible human beings. How will your perspectives on something like coronavirus, the pandemic, be different if you are more on 3D versus the other side? So if you're rooted more in the three-dimensional consciousness, which is all about separation, where you view yourself as separate from everything and everyone else, then the focus might be more on protecting yourself for your own survival. You might be thinking about how you can fortify yourself, how you can keep others away who could be carrying the virus or danger. You might even be hoarding toilet paper so that others don't get it and you have it when you need it. Whereas if you're rooted more in the multidimensional perspective where you see yourself as one with everything and everyone else, the focus might be more on how can we get through this together or helping someone who needs help during this difficult time. How will your perspectives be different about your body and sensory perceptions? Now, when you're rooted more in the 3D, we use body more like a machine, which we have trained, which we can tell when to go back to sleep or when to eat or when to wake up and start working again. In terms of your sensory perceptions, which we know are sight, smell, touch, hearing, and taste, so those will be limited by the typical frequency bandwidths that are associated with them. In terms of your cognitive abilities, they'll be based mainly in thinking and learning by acquiring more knowledge. However, when you're rooted more in the multidimensional perspective and understand yourself as energy, as vibrational beings, you will know that it's your vibration that determines everything. I think Nikola Tesla did describe it in the best way when he said, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. My brain is only a receiver. In the universe, there is a core from which I receive all of my knowledge and inspiration. So you'll really focus more on making sure that you are keeping your vibration and frequency high rather than reading books to acquire more knowledge. You might find yourself wandering in nature and getting your antenna tuned to that infinite intelligence from which you can just receive your downloads, intuition, insights, ideas, all of the creative juices to create magic in this world. When it comes to your body, you wouldn't just consider it as a machine, but you'll view it as a sacred temple in which the sacred soul lives. So rather than telling it when to do what, you'll actually be listening to your body. You'll actually be in tune of what your body needs. When does it want to rest? When does it feel like really high energy that can be leveraged for some creation? When is it craving to be in nature around hummingbirds or to smell some fresh flowers? You may have a deep reverence for the sacred energetic temple. In terms of your sensory perceptions, the more that you work on your vibrations and raising your vibration, the more the bandwidths of your sensory perceptions eventually expand. You will no longer be limited just by the typical limits of what you can hear or see or sense, but actually be able to decipher so much more that is actually out there beyond the veil, just hidden from us. You'll also experience that you end up knowing and remembering deeper intelligence insights, even if you've not read them somewhere recently, you'll just know what you need to know. terms of the time-space realities, when we are rooted more on the three-dimensional perspective or on this side of the veil, we perceive time as linear, going from past to present to future. And we pretty much experience only this space or this realm as the real realm. However, when you're rooted more in the multidimensional perspective, you realize that time is not really linear after all, and people can access multiple time space realities or realms even when they are in this human experience. How will your perspectives on God be different on both sides of this wheel? So, when you're rooted more in the three-dimensional perspective, the relationship with God is a little bit opportunistic, I guess. So, we may believe in God or we may not believe in God, but whenever we need something, we definitely want to pray or go to a temple and ask for it, ask for it. However, when you're rooted more in a multidimensional perspective, you will know, you will feel the connection, the deep connection that your soul has with the divine creator. Now, in Hinduism, we call it gods and goddesses. In the Native American culture, there is more emphasis on spirit guides, ancestors. In Christianity, they say that each one of us has our angels. In theology and theosophy, I think they refer to them as ascended masters. For the ones who are rooted more in science, I think they prefer to call it the universe or the source energy or infinite intelligence. Now, wherever you are in that spectrum or whatever you want to call the divine energies, it really doesn't matter. Whatever name that resonates with you, go for that. But it's really important for us to create that connection and align ourselves, our life, our energy with that of the divine plan. Now, I personally like the Taoist definition by Lao Tzu the best when it comes to describing God. He says, that which goes by 1,000 names and still remains a mystery. I absolutely, that's the most beautiful way to describe it, for we cannot really name that infinite creator's energy, but we still always feel it. Now that we've gone through all these perspectives, some of which were more three-dimensional perspectives and some of them were multi-dimensional perspectives, you might be wondering which of the two sides is real and which one is an illusion. Which one is the Maya? Now, to answer that question, I just want to say that neither is an illusion and nor is exclusively real. Both are real at the same time. We as human beings have access to both the sides of the veil at all times. It is only our vibration that depends whether we are rooted more in 3D at any moment or would be able to access the higher dimensions by being able to raise our frequency. Next question might be, how can you raise your frequency to be able to access the multidimensional realities? Now, in order to do that, obviously there are a lot of practices. The best one or the most efficient I personally find is that of spending more time in nature, but others can also access it through doing more meditation, through doing breath work. Sometimes it's the life experiences, especially those of suffering or hardships, that can really propel you from a more 3D perspective to the multidimensional realities that exist there. Some people can also access these by going into deep silence, solitude, and stillness. There are definitely some plant based drugs or psychedelic drugs that can help people experience those multidimensional realities. Although I personally do not recommend going that route unless you're doing it with a healer or a certified practitioner. Now, I would also like to say that this 3D reality, it's not really an illusion as the Hindu scriptures have called it. It is real, it is very real. My goals, the people in my life, uh, what I achieve or own, it is definitely real. But it is just a very, very limited view compared to all of the reality that is actually real. So, the beauty of it is in being able to access the higher dimensional wisdom and bringing it to our day to day life. If we are going to our office, can we be a kind employee or colleague to our coworker? If we are walking in nature, can we be kind to all plants and animals? Can we help another human being who is in need? We don't need to read all of these scriptures, all the religious texts or spiritual philosophies that I talked about, but we just want to be kind human beings who are aligned with the divine creator's plan and acting in line with that. Also, you may be wondering, where do you invest more of your time and energy? Should it be more for the 3D pursuits or for the multidimensional pursuits? Now, I personally think about all these things as strategic versus tactical. Um, where is the higher ROI? So, if you invest more in the multidimensional, which is that you're spending more time in acquiring positive karma, positive wisdom, connections, and in doing these things which will eternally stay with you, then let's go for investing more in the multidimensional perspective. I will also be posting the slides which I created to cover this topic. I would love it if you can leave some feedback on this video or share your comments, or if you would like for us to delve any specific topic in more detail. Thank you.